real estate agents. Welcome to the Weekly Closer. I'm your host, Jeff Underwood, along with my co-host, Joey Sampaga, the man with the plan.
There it is.
There we go.
What's going on?
Oh, doing a show, man.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one.
Having some fun. This is going to be a different show than you're used to because this one's going to dive deep into some of the investing world, I think, is kind of where we're headed here a little bit. So, hey, we've got an amazing guest with us today. That is Bob Collopy with Fort Lowell Realty and Property Management.
Yes.
Right? All right. How you doing, Bob?
I'm good. Thanks for bringing me onto this.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm interested. You had some things kind of outlined here that we're going to go through, and I like the direction of this one. So why don't we start with first telling the agents how long you've been in the business and kind of what got you into real estate?
Yeah, so basically, I grew up in this business. We started with a little family brokerage out in Texas, and I really started at 15, going into houses, ripping up carpet for turnovers.
Yeah.
It was real basic stuff I went into, and then, I kept doing handyman work for mostly a property management company of my parents, and I kept going up, and that helped me pay for college. Started doing more handyman work. I graduated to evap coolers and doing roof stuff, which wasn't the best class to take, I guess, of roofing. And then I just kind of kept going up from there. I got my real estate license in college, and I actually first started in a little bit of commercial office and everything, which was fun to do, kind of different world to learn. But really my niche and things I like to do is more multifamily or investment-oriented acquisitions. It could be single-family homes or apartment complexes of any size.
Got it.
And I just kind of kept going up from there in that arena.
So what part of Texas?
Yeah, I'm from Houston, Texas, so we have the best Tex-Mex in the world, Papacitos, if you haven't heard from it. I want my free plug for Papacitos next time I'm there, but it really will change your world on the fajitas.
I heard a little bit of the Texas when you said
it was a
Houston.
little bit.
I got a little bit left. There's still a little bit. Yeah, I moved here about halfway through my life. I went from Houston, Texas to Sedona, Arizona.
Ah.
So basically, Texas, not like Sedona.
No.
Quite different. You got, the more red state proud, and then you got, Sedona hippies and everything. And then I kind of had to meld that somehow in my developing, because I got in there around mid of my life and everything, and then moved to Phoenix, and then went to Arizona State.
Ah.
That's right. Oh, yeah. You just, let's see, you just had an award from ASU, right?
Yes.
The ASU
I did. ASU 100. Yeah, I actually just got awarded that yesterday. It was really cool. So ASU 100 is the fastest growing 100 Arizona owned or led businesses.
Wow.
And we were in the upper third of the top 100, and I thought that was really cool to actually be part of that and be one of those companies already.
Impressive.
Because I was up there with some really big companies. I was like, man, this is great. So, yeah, that really helped. And also because of the ASU 100 and everything, I guess Phoenix Business Journal got in on it. So we're going to be something with them, I think, in May. So we got a little something with them as well. So it's really great.
Getting out there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah.
So today I know we're going to talk a little bit iBuyer, and you have on here mega funds. So kind of break some of this down for us.
Yeah. So I really started moving into this space because we grew after I graduated at Arizona State, I grew our property management company a lot. Now we have over somewhere in the realm of 1,400 properties, and we only had a few hundred. And so we had this large growth happen for us, and basically just kept going from there. And then I started doing multifamily sales and rehabs and acquisitions, repositioning, and then it kept going up and up and up. And then some bigger and bigger investment groups got more and more interested. So eventually these large funds were like, hey, Bob, buy us hundreds of homes in Phoenix, Arizona. And that's what I started doing. And I've bought over 300 homes individually for these guys, not portfolio deals, because those are different. There's so much more to do when you got 300 transactions. And so, I started to learn a lot about, that world, and it's very interesting, and it's a side of the world that a lot of people don't understand. And also, iBuyers are not the same as funds at all, but it also requires an investor mentality because that's who's giving all these big iBuyers the money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've had this unique position of understanding all these different worlds and understanding, okay, why do they work? I know a lot of people hate them, a lot of people gripe about them, and it's totally valid. I'm a real estate broker. I get the pains, but they're working, and I think it's important to know why and what can be done about all that. What are the pros? What are the cons objectively?
Absolutely. Well, I know you're going to kind of break that down a little bit for us too. Like what's
interested.
really what is working? What's making the iBuyer thing work right now?
Yeah. So if we back up and really boil down what's been going on nowadays, whether it be like average Joe and Mary owning their first home, or Mr. Wall Street trying to invest in this big fund or iBuyer or anything, their issues with real estate it basically boils down to the same three things that are really getting addressed right now. It's having a smooth real estate process, clear and upfront terms where you know what's going to happen, because sometimes not knowing what's going to happen is the biggest pain of real estate for anyone, whether it be investor or Joe. What's going to happen to my house? When's it going to sell? When's it going to do this? And then the third problem is making sure these upfront terms actually end up happening when it comes time to close on the property, or if you're an investment group, when not getting surprised on the quarterly report and actually getting that rate of return that you invested for. And these funds and these iBuyers, to a great extent, are trying their best to address these three things that have been around forever. These problems have been around since the very beginning. So the main problems being addressed is they've really gotten good. The iBuyers have really gotten good at simplifying the sales process, while at the same time at least giving the appearance of cutting costs. We're cutting those commissions of those vile brokers, and they make way too much money, and they're just putting it into their new yachts, even though we're in a desert. But you don't want to put your money with them. But at least that's how brokers like to perceive what they're doing. That's not exactly what they're doing, because right now people are buying into these huge iBuyers, and they're really taking up the business. And it's not really because they're trying to make other people look bad. It's because they're addressing those three main issues by simplifying the process. Like, they will give you a cash offer within 24 hours, and they will close in 7, 10, 14 days. Whereas before, a lot of the times at the end of the day, if you're having a financed, other person buying it, it could take 2 months to close, maybe 3, maybe more. You don't know.
Well, and maybe that first person isn't really qualified, and now you're back on the market.
Exactly. And it just kind of keeps going. And they eliminate all that by buying it up front. And because they're buying it cash, you don't have to worry about the appraisal. You don't have to worry about that guy. You don't have to worry about this, that, or the other. And you're getting X, or at least you think you're getting X.
Right.
Because here's the one thing that tends to happen. They don't necessarily address problem number 3, which is, are you really going to get what you thought you were going to get?
Yeah.
Right.
So, and this is one of the biggest things that a lot of agents like to point out, and to an extent it can be valid. Because if they say, let's just say it's a $200,000 home. They're like, here's your offer, $200,000. All we got to do is inspect it, and we're good to go.
Yep.
But then they're going to come in, and they're going to find something wrong, and then maybe you end up selling at 185, but you're like, time has passed, you got to go.
Don't want to waste any more time. Let's just do this.
Exactly. And you're stressed out. You basically bought into convenience, and now it's like, wait, now I have to worry about things again? Now I have to go do these things? And that's, I feel like to an extent there's a profiting off of that.
Sure.
To an extent. And that can be a real issue for average Joe, because they could lose some equity or top dollar that they could have gotten on their home, but they are still getting the convenience. They're making the process simpler. They did give you kind of what you wanted. You still didn't have to do the showings or anything. So it's kind of this little fudge factor to where they are still bringing that value.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what's helped them get into this market and everything. And so, one of the things I do aside from brokerage is I actually do have a version of an iBuyer. It's called Bob's Best Offer. And it's going well. That was one of the things that was getting awarded and everything. And the big difference of what I did is actually making sure that we give you more clearly what you thought you were going to get at the end. Because I'm addressing problem number 3, actually getting what you thought you were going to get.
Yeah.
The fast offer, okay, I do that. We do this, we do the other. And we give you the terms up front as well. They're simplified, no appraisal, none of this. But I'm making sure that there's less of a negotiation that has to happen between them. And I think that's one of the things that people love about iBuyers. Here's the price. It's over. But the thing that's still a big negotiation point, a big point of contention that is less talked about is the second round of negotiations. Everyone thinks there's one round of negotiations. Here's the price. But there's the second round, which is the inspection period. And so when I give a price, we try really hard to actually make sure that that's going to be the price at the end of the day. So we inspect. I have like real people actually inspect these homes. It's not just some algorithm.
Yeah.
And that really helps. That's really not replaceable. I understand AI is getting better and better, but it's not there yet. It just isn't, no matter what they tell you.
Right.
And so unless we find something in inspection like you're missing a wall, like it's just not there. You can wave at the neighbors and get a little too close. We're probably going to be good on the closing. And in fact, we'll even help with moving. We'll give a moving credit as well, because we're helping with the convenience and making the whole process go through.
So your initial price comes after the inspection then, the offer.
See, for the most part, we won't do that because they want something right now.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times I will talk to people and say, well, if you really are serious, I can send someone out there at this, and I'm going to be in this ballpark.
Yep.
Is it okay if I'm in that ballpark? Because I can't do anything better until I really see the house.
Yeah.
And that's a nice plus for a lot of people that just isn't offered anywhere else.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if they had an offer, let's say from some of the other iBuyers, those are going to be that price point that's going to end up being negotiated down. But if they get one from you also, I mean, do you see that they may go with the other just because their offer might be higher in the beginning? Or are you going to be pretty competitive with what?
That can be one of the biggest pains because
a
couple things that I also don't do is I actually don't have any fees. I don't that I would be profiting off of.
Yeah.
I don't have a commission. I don't have this experience fee that kind of gets told around by a bunch of the iBuyers or whatever version of that might be. And a lot of times that's somewhere comparable to what a lot of agents would get paid on a deal.
Got it.
So I'm cutting that out completely because that kind of inflates the price of what you're getting right there. That's around 4, 5, 6, 7% right there. And so my price always looks a little lower. So I always emphasize, well, what's your bottom line? Like, let's stop worrying about the offer. Let's worry about what are you actually going to get
What do you
when you
wanna
get home,
get?
when you move. How much money is going to be in your pocket?
Right.
Yeah.
And the only thing that you have to take account of is like the title and escrow fees and such, because that's a separate entity.
Yep.
Yeah.
And relatively that's the smallest
Yep.
compared to those other things. So that's what you get, and the others you're paying the same thing anyway.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the fund, you were talking about some funds,
Right.
mega funds, or
Yeah. The basically these big funds that this is another big entity that people know, and these funds have come in. They really came in like 2012, 2011, and they started buying up homes by the thousands, tens of thousands, and everyone was like, "Oh, what's happening?" All the homes are going to like these mega groups and everything, and for a while it was looking that way, but a lot of the times they were just buying properties that weren't getting bought otherwise, and to an extent, they actually can help environments and everything because. Frankly, if you were to argue we were near another peak or something, I'd rather be next to some credible funds being my neighbor than subprime guys surrounding me.
Sure.
So to an extent, if you have that in your mix of a neighborhood, there can be some pluses to it. But that's at least one of those fears that people like to address with these people. It's like, who are they? And basically, they're just groups of investors, and these funds are just another type of financing structure to buy a lot of properties. If you really simplified it, if you got rid of the structure, the legalese of it, it's a bunch of partners coming together to buy properties And essentially what these guys do is they buy them, they hold them, they fix them up, they hold them, they lease them out for a certain period of time. It's usually years. It could be 3, 5, 7, 10 years. You don't know what they're doing, but it's usually longer than a year. And then they'll sell it eventually for their own purposes, for their own goals.
Right.
And that's generally what they are. And they don't really account for even 1% of the whole home inventory or anything like that, or even total sales. But they are a still major group of them. And I've bought, again, hundreds of properties for these guys to kind of just keep it going. And, that's just been a really interesting kind of situation there. So, like, what I'll do my property management company and everything, essentially the pitch has always been we do it all. And this has really made it easier for investment groups like these or other groups to kind of come in and be like, hey, like, we raised all this money, we have all this stuff going on, but it's really hard to actually buy all the properties, lease them out, rehab them, then lease them out, and then manage them for years effectively. That's something that is harder to just kind of go everywhere. Like, one of the reasons why the iBuyers were able to relatively catch fires because they're not managing for years. They're not having to lease them up. They're cutting a lot of the stuff, and a lot of the iBuyers are actually buying relatively easier homes to fix. They're not doing as many deep rehabs, if you will. Maybe some do, but most aren't. That's not the main volume. Right. And so basically one of my niches has been to service these funds to do the whole thing. We have every part covered. So through basically vertical integration and making sure we're part of every step of the way of actually handling this portfolio of properties, all of them happen better, because the mentality of real estate or any investment is the same as anything you do, where you don't want 5 different groups doing 5 different things for your one portfolio. Because a lot of the times money finds a way of going away, especially in certain parts of the process. So because it really comes down to incentives. Like, if you're just going to have one group do one thing, like the rehabbers, all they do is rehab, and they don't really care about anything else. They care about their bottom line, and they just care about getting the most money out of this while retaining the relationship. But if you're going to hold for 5 years, well, you want some things not to break, you want some things to do well, you want some things to go okay. So you need to rehab more strategically and do certain upgrades that are going to hold for that period of time. And if you're also managing the property you're rehabbing, you're going to care more because you're stuck with your rehab that you did. You have to account for, why is the house falling apart? Didn't we pay you $15,000 to fix this place?
Yeah.
Well, so it gives more accountability to the whole thing, and also incentive, because okay, well, you're going to make a little on the management, you're going to make a little on the leasing, you're going to make a little here and there. It's not make or break on this one thing. So it makes sense to vertically integrate a lot of these processes for everyone. And that's what's been happening with a lot of the funds that are getting better.
Got it.
Is this vertical integration.
Are we still seeing a lot of that going on right now?
Yeah, actually, there's been more funds, smaller funds, sprouting up at rates I thought were just off the charts.
Wow.
There used to only be a few really big names and everything, and now there's a lot of smaller guys, small to medium-sized guys coming in as well. I think it's partially because they proved the market. They proved that this works. It's less alien to a lot of investors. Before, it was like, well, what's that? You want to buy houses? No, the houses just crashed. You're crazy. Now it's like, oh, wait, no, we get it. And it also makes sense because, I'm in multifamily and everything as well, and these cap rates are getting compressed. Multifamily returns are not as juicy as they used to be. And if you can manage a lot of homes in mass and do all things in mass, it almost becomes comparable to the multifamily in some instances. Now, there's always going to be cities that are different, but as a whole, they're starting to catch up with one another. And so it's on the radar more with those 2 factors.
Got it. And these are mostly buying up the homes that need a lot of rehab?
It really depends on the fund. That's the thing that's been interesting is the iBuyers from my experience, are all sort of all fighting over the same basic homes that are relatively easy to flip and go
Under a certain
in mass.
price point and all that, yeah.
Yeah, they're usually in a certain price
400.
point. Yeah, under 400. They're doing this, they're doing that, and they're all kind of in the same ballpark. But these funds, because a lot of the times it's an entrepreneur or someone, they're like, okay, I know this. I understand this property type, and I know these areas. And funds can be a little more local in that way. They can be, okay, I understand Arizona. So and I understand Texas. So I'm going to do something like a fund or something where I'm going to get investors and we're going to buy houses. Because it doesn't have to be a fund. Technically, a real estate fund is just one structure. Mm-hmm. So, but it's the same idea, no matter what group you want to do it with. Maybe an LLC is best or a partnership's best. But it's like, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to fix these up and I'm going to do all this. And that's going to work for me.
Yeah.
But a lot of these funds, these mega ones, are all over the country, and that's a totally different game. And the only way the ones that do that stay alive is trying to be vertically integrated. A lot of them are not, but that's really what helps in general, and that's a thing that I've been able to provide. And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's great."
All right. Any secrets you want to share, like how you find these houses?
How to find the houses. I mean,
drive around.
Driving around. Sometimes the guy sticking a sign into the ground still exists in this modern world, and I've called them, and sometimes it works out. But it has gotten basically more complicated finding houses because you're not just competing with, the guy down the street doing flips. You're not just competing with agents anymore, and that was hard enough because we're the highest per capita in Arizona with agents.
Oh yeah, I read that the other day.
It's like
right, 1 in every 164 people or something.
It's crazy. We're like number one. I know that.
Yeah, Arizona was number 1.
So we have some of the strongest iBuyers. We have the most agents, and funds are prevalent here. They are buying. So it's like, man, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So yeah, that's been a thing that's been going on with that. So to actually get deals as a fund, it all kind of depends on what kind of property you're getting. There's really anywhere I could point you wouldn't be anything new. It's just doing a combination of things. The real thing that I provide isn't anything that's super, super groundbreaking. It's combining a lot of things at once. It's like that vertical integration I was talking about, and that's the main thing that a lot of people need to think about who are going into real estate. If you want to, stay alive in real estate, it used to be, I'm going to do one task and I'm going to do it really well. I'm just going to do listings. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that. And that's still a credo that's going to exist for a while. But in 5-10 years, that's going to be really tough because these companies that are so technologically integrated, have so much funding, like they can buy a house cash. Can you? And so they can provide these things that is really tough to do without these other things. Like that's why I'm building an iBuyer, because I can provide a competitive offer to you.
Sure.
By building these machines, if you will, for them as well. So like, let's say you just want to focus on listings. Okay, that's a big thing people still love to do. Okay, well now you need to consider being your own version of a little iBuyer. Because now you can provide more. You can provide more vertical integration because, well, now you're the buyer too. You're getting the listings and you're the buyer. And because you have a cheaper cost of capital, you can give people better offers because you have less expenses for holding costs on the home. Or because you have your own in-house crews for rehabs like I do, I save a little bit on my rehabs. It might cost you $25-30 grand, Joe and Mary, to fix your place, but it might only cost me $15. Because one, I know what I'm doing, and I have lower labor costs, and I already pay my insurance and stuff. So because I'm doing 50 properties at once, my insurance is cheaper. Everything's cheaper.
Yeah.
So I can give you a little better spread. And that's something you got to think about. If you're really going to focus in an area, you got to find a way to vertically integrate.
Wow.
And that's the new part that wasn't really there as much.
Yeah. I know there's been some talk. I've read some articles that, and this is just pie in the sky, I think, at this point, but because it's probably a ways off, right? But they're like, hey, I wonder if there'll be a day where people will only buy from a company and only sell to a company. You know what I'm saying? Like an organization.
Oh, yeah.
So like the iBuyer strategies, but like 10 times, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really could. But it would partially depend on who's buying them and like what's Joe and Mary doing. Like, are they still buying homes? Do they believe in that, American dream that got really big in the 50s, to own your own home in suburbia? Are they still doing that? Or a lot of people my generation, millennials, do they all want their condo or to rent in a city? A lot of it is going to have to depend on consumer taste, because at the end of the day, these mega groups can't do anything without consumer behavior and tastes and everything. The second everyone changes their minds, they got to adapt.
Yeah.
And if people really want to own their own home, you can't just do that. There's got to be a lot of other things to change their minds as to why they don't want to own their own home.
Right. No, that's right.
Yeah.
Any other things you want to share before we jump into the next segment? I think we covered quite a bit of it.
Yeah, I
like the model. I mean, I think the business model's good.
Yeah, everything is turned into business models. Like the biggest reason why I grew so much in property management wasn't just the marketing. It was all those things I was doing. Basically, I was providing a one-stop shop for investors, or a one-stop top, and that investor could be a guy who owns one house, or someone like we picked up a portfolio of, I think, 200 something homes for a micro fund. It's still big, but a micro fund over in Tucson, and they love it because we go in. If they want to buy more, I have a really smooth buying process that I can go in and find a good property for you. It'll hit the rate of return really quickly, and it'll go really well, really smooth. They don't have to worry about it. And then once that's done, we can rehab it. We rehab it with all our in-house guys, and they love that because they're saving a little money, and they know there's going to be more control, more quality control, more everything on it, and then there's more accountability down the road. Once we do that, we lease it up, and because we lease up thousands and thousands of units, we can do that cheaper because we're starting to centralize some of that to where your cost per lease goes down very significantly, helping them with their returns. And then our management, because we're doing so many, it's cheaper because we have a lot of processes that have been really made sophisticated. And then we can sell it using the same buying program I had for you in the beginning. And we just kind of change it, not from buyer ownership to ownership, but my network to network is where it's going to go. And that's been the real process that people have liked, and everyone else could give a version of that in their own way. Right. And that's really where all the growth is coming from.
Yeah. No, that's great. Sounds like a great model for sure. So if any agents that are watching or listening want to reach out to you directly, how would they do that? Yeah,
one of the best ways to do it is just email me. It's Bob at it's like the acronym of Fort Lowell Realty, FLR. So Foxtrot Lima Romeo, and then AZ is in Arizona. So Bob at FLRAZ.com. And then our Bob's Best Offer phone number is 602-344-9971. And someone can talk to you on that. If you want to just submit an offer, try it out, you go to bobsbestoffer.com. And it really depends on what you want. You go to any of those, and there you go.
Awesome. Sounds great, man.
Yeah.
You've been busy.
Yeah.
Keeping me busy, yeah.
You don't look a day over 25.
27.
Oh.
I use Burt's Bees. Keeps me fresh.
Yeah, there you go.
That's funny.
That's funny. That is funny. You ready to get in the ring?
Here we go.
All right, what's going to happen?
You can do this?
You wear the mask.
Yeah, we got plenty of masks if you want to put on a mask. This one was already used in Mexico when I bought it, so I don't know if you want to put
By
it on.
Nacho Libre.
I don't know if I'd win the match.
What's the best advice that anyone's ever given you?
The best advice that anyone's ever given me has essentially been, it's a version of follow the money, but it's a little more to that. It's not just follow the money, it's partner with the money. It's find a reason why an investment group wants you to really be part of the team. And my way of fixing that was vertical integration. Because I can be the boots on the ground for you and make every step of the process smooth, and you can get a better return, why not bring Bob on? Even if he's not bringing much cash to the table, because that was especially true in the beginning for me. he's gonna make sure those returns come in. He's gonna be accountable. It's gonna be great, and that's been the best thing for me.
There you go. All right. Do you have a favorite mobile app?
Favorite mobile app? I mean, I'm partially biased because of the technology I use, because everything I do to make these vertical integrations happen is all tech-based. I actually owned a tech startup back in college and everything, scuba diving computers and stuff. So we would build all this stuff that was highly customizable. And so because of that, to make my buying process, management, everything better, one of the things that I think is a little more usable for everyone is getting a good CRM. And everyone likes Salesforce. It's great, and it is good, but it costs more. But so I wanted to go something that costs a little less because I wanted to customize it more, at least in my mind. So I use Zoho. And Zoho, you got to know a little bit more, or at least be willing to be frustrated at a keyboard more often, and they have a good app. So I'd use Zoho CRM app and everything, and it works decently well.
All right. That's probably also I was going to ask you also a productivity tool or software that you use on a regular basis?
Yeah, Zoho, it's great because it can do so much more than just CRM. It can help you with your leads. It can help you with this, that, the other. You name it. They probably got some add-on for it.
Yeah, absolutely. How about a book recommendation?
A book recommendation. Oh, man, there's a lot of different stuff that works, but what's weird is no business book really did much for me. I actually, once upon a time, wrote a philosophical book that was a fiction. Because what gets me going is more philosophy. And one thing that really helped me just in life was Atlas Shrugged.
That's a good one.
By Ayn Rand. Now, that thing is enormous.
It is.
But if you're someone with a certain mentality and everything, and you want to understand the two huge functions of mentalities in the world, at least that's how she boils it down, it's a really good way to understand how the world works at a higher level. And understanding how the world works at a higher level is really what's going to change things for you and help you actually create that vertical integration. Because if you don't know what's at the top, how are you going to vertically integrate to the top?
Sure.
And understand that mentality.
That's a great point. Yeah, they actually made a video series out of that.
Yeah, there's like 4 of them.
I know, I just saw that.
3 or 4? Yeah, I don't know, there's 3 or 4.
I want to watch those. I was actually like... My girlfriend was like, "Oh man!" I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, we got it one night. We were sitting there, my wife and I, on the couch, and I think it was Netflix or something. I don't know what it was Netflix. On, but we started watching the first one. I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me." So we're watching it. It gets halfway through, I look over. She's like almost asleep. I'm like, "Oh," I said, "You don't have to watch number 2, 3 with me. It's fine."
Well, 2, 3, and 4 aren't as good as 1.
That's what I was seeing in the ratings. It was like, "Nah," and then it goes, "Nah."
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's kind of strange because they actually change.
They change characters,
like actors.
Yes, actors
throughout the whole thing.
Yep.
So you're like, okay, wait,
who's this?
Who is that again? Because it looks like totally different person.
Really?
Right? So.
It would have been a good one if they just
yeah.
So they did
it. It was kind of odd.
I don't know. Still gonna watch it.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. All right, we got one more question for you.
All right.
This is beautiful.
Draw it out of the
mask there. All right. Favorite sport and favorite sports team. Oh man, what could it be? Okay, so see, I live in downtown Phoenix.
Okay. And
I'm basically right between those two stadiums.
Okay.
So I have to love the Diamondbacks and the Suns.
Yeah.
And I'll say, just by living there all the time, the Diamondbacks fans are easier to get along with at all times. The Suns fans are still quite good. It's more when the other fans of basketball come in that we start to get a little rowdy sometimes in the streets if it didn't go their way. So, but baseball games are always chill, no matter what happens before or after.
That's true.
And I gotta love the Diamondbacks too because they have really good fireworks shows that I get to see. The Suns aren't giving me fireworks shows.
So that's right. So from where you live, you can see.
Yeah, I get to see it and everything, and so because they're providing that for me as well. I mean, I gotta really love that. And
there you go.
And they're trying now. it was a little quieter for a long time, but you know they were doing stuff recently, so okay.
So I wonder if you didn't go to the game, but you live right close. I wonder, can you go in and get one of those big old diamond dogs or whatever they are?
You want to know?
Without having, I mean, I'm just thinking that's, you know, my wife reads about the food down there. She's like, "Ooh, look at this, whatever they have." I'm like,
Diamond
that sounds
dog.
really gross, but she's like, "Yeah, but you just have to try it once."
It is surprisingly good. There is a tip or trick or two I've learned by being around it. One thing is if you don't like have to be that person that's there all like from the very beginning. If you're not necessarily sold on that, here's what you do. You come in around the second inning because, you know, it gets more exciting towards the end.
Sure.
You come in around the second inning, and I'll go up to the scalpers, and now, because they've lost all hope on selling their stuff, I'll get in for $5-10, and it's a decent ticket. Yeah. So I'll get a decent ticket, and then I'll get a diamond dog because actually it's not my world necessarily of what I eat, but you know what? That's kind of good. And because it's so big and those prices are so high, you're actually saving some money if you're sharing it instead of getting 2 or 3 different dogs. So you're saving a little money there. Get your water outside. They'll all tell you as you go in, but there's truth to it.
That's true.
And so, yeah, there you go.
That's awesome. $5 to $10. That's a good idea.
Yeah, if you negotiate it. You know, I'm a negotiator. That's my life.
Sure,
I'm a broker. So like that. But you can get them at least to 10
Yeah.
on a lot of games.
Okay.
Wow.
You gotta do
Great
that.
tip right there.
I know, right?
Sweet. Sweet. Well, thank you, Bob, for being in here.
Good stuff.
Yeah, of course.
great,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
Thanks,
good.
Joanna, for bringing him in.
Thank you.
It's been great. All right, man. Well, I will let you out of here because we trapped you. I know you're a busy guy. So, agents, until next time.
Yes.
We will see you later.
Good one.
Take care.
Thank you.
Good job.